Hey friends, it's Whitney. Welcome back to Whiskey and Whit, and in today's video we are doing it again because we are loving these so much. We have another installment of the Dollar Tree Mystery Box Challenge, so stay tuned. So if you've been around for a little bit, you've seen me do a few of these. This is round number 3. We started doing these in March, and I have a fond memory of that first one because it literally came out the week Finn was born. So as a little refresher, there is a great group of DIY YouTubers that get together. We all get a name. We pack up a box of $7 to $10 Dollar Tree items. We ship it off. That person opens it up and just crafts. And the goal is to use as many items as you can in the box in projects in their video. I packed up a box and sent it over to Natalie at Design to the Nines, so be sure to head over to her video after you watch mine so you can see what I sent her and what she did with them. My box was sent to me from Caitlin over at Crafts by Caitlin. I'm so excited to get into this box and see what she sent.
What do we have in here? All right, challenge items are wrapped in blue. Wow, look at this professional wrap with all the bubble wrap. All right, what is this? Placemat. Number 2, some stickers. Oh, those are fun. Oh, but it has a kickstand. Some pom-poms, a wood plaque. These things are awesome. And a plaid scarf. And then as far as challenge items, like one of those little holders, but with a Christmas tree. Awesome, this is cute. I have not seen this at any of the stores by me. Challenge item number 2 is a shorter version of the pencil cup. So if you saw my video last time, I did the taller version of this, but I am excited to get crafting with all of these items. All right, here's everything that she sent me. So let's get to work and figure out what we can create.
So once I saw everything in the box, I really felt like I needed to go the Christmas route. I have not done a Christmas DIY video yet this year, and I was just ready for it. So here we go. We're gonna kick it off with the easiest one in the entire video, which is this really cute garland. So as I'm sure you've guessed, this is made from the pom-poms from the box. You also need some sort of thread or twine, and I like to use a doll needle. This helps get through the pom-poms. So I used the white pom-poms that Caitlin sent, as well as some of these holiday pom-poms that I picked up from Dollar Tree, and I decided to do red and white, but if red, white, and green or red and green is more your style, you could use whatever colors that you want. You could also grab some different color pom-poms and do this for other times of the year, but this is so easy. These needles, I'll link them down below. I just got them at Michael's, and I use these to thread a ton of stuff. They work super well. I did the large pom-poms as well as some of the little guys here, and I would definitely recommend the Christmas pom-pom white ones versus the other white ones. It's just a lot easier to thread. The inside's not as tough. Then I just went ahead and hung it on this really cute round mirror in Finn's room, and I think this is going to be a great addition for his holiday decor. Then I took some remaining pom-poms and just threaded a smaller little strand, and this I am going to use to fill out some of my vignettes. So you can just wrap it around things. You could put this on a tiered tray, but really the smaller one, you can kind of lay it over and it'll give you the Christmas vibes. Up next is another garland. This time we are doing some retro light bulbs. And this is made out of that gray placemat from the box. Now I racked my brain on this placemat, and I finally decided that the gray would look cool as kind of the bottom end of a vintage light bulb. So to create a pattern, I took my cell phone, pulled up an image, and then I just took some thin paper and traced it over the screen of my phone. It's a quick way that I like to do this so then I don't have to print out anything. You could definitely print out a picture as well. I cut it out to use it as a tracing guide, and then I traced a ton of these onto my mat. Now I gave the end double the length because you'll see in a minute I'm going to fold it over. So I added about another ½ inch to the end of the picture that I drew, so then I could create a way to hang these. Then I went through and painted the actual bulbs. I did red, yellow, green, and blue. and I just used some paint I had on hand. So red, yellow, and green were all acrylic paints that were just in my stash, and then blue was a chalk paint that was in my stash. You could do traditional colors, you could paint a ton of different options, you could cover these with fabric, whatever will match your decor. And then when those are dry, go through and put the end on top of some hot glue. So you're going to curl it over. And the goal here is to create this little loop so that you can hang it on your garland. The hot glue stuck really well to the placemat. Then I used that same twine from before and put them in a pattern onto the string, and they're ready to hang. For as much grief as that placemat gave me thinking up ideas, I'm really happy with how this turned out. Up next is this little farmhouse sign that says, "May you never be too grown up to search the skies on Christmas Eve." And I've loved this saying for so long, and now that Finn is in the house, I knew I wanted to make it for his room. So I used the frame and the wood plaque, and I went through and just disassembled the sign. So all I was left with was a blank slate with a kickstand on the back. Then I went outside and used some Minwax Dark Walnut to go ahead and stain that plaque so it was a better contrast on the fabric. I took some red buffalo check fabric that I got from Walmart, but Dollar Tree does sell this if you're lucky enough to find the fabric, and I placed it on top of the frame using some Mod Podge. I made sure that all of the bubbles were out, and I just used my little Cricut tool. And then I went through and made sure that all of the edges were stuck so that I could essentially stretch the fabric around the frame so that all the edges were finished. I put some Mod Podge on the edges as well as the back so that I could pull each of my pieces over, and I thought of it as wrapping a present, just so then that way my corners were tucked. Every end got Mod Podge so it would stick, and then I also put it on the back, and then as things were coming together, I put some on top of the fabric just so everything laid flat on the back. Once everything was dry, it was time to apply my decal. I designed this myself, so I will link it down below if you would like to use the cut file. Then I just added the plaque with some hot glue so that it stuck to the fabric. You could leave it as is, but I wanted to add a bow, so I just took some Dollar Tree burlap, made a nice big bow, hot glued it on, and then trimmed the ends so that it was the length I needed it to be. And then I added a little bit of hot glue so those ends sat exactly where I wanted them to. I think this saying is just so sweet. I think it is perfect for kids. It's also great for the kid and all of us around Christmas time. And you guys know I was not about to do a Christmas DIY without some red buffalo check. Next up, let me show you how I created this cute little tree, and I did it using the challenge item, which was this little wooden holder. So step one is to dismantle it. So I used some kind of muscle and popped it apart. It takes a little bit of time, but if you're careful enough, you can get it apart. Now, I didn't do it without causing a little bit of damage, so I just used a little bit of my wood filler to make sure that that all laid down flat. I let that dry and then sanded it down. This is just 60 grit sandpaper. I grabbed whatever I could find in the garage. Then it was time to break one piece in half, so I used my miter box and saw just to create a little bit of an indent so that I could do this wiggle back and forth to pop it in half. If you've got a chop saw, you can use that, really whatever you can do to get that cut down the center. If I had a hobby knife, I would probably do that too, but I don't currently have one. I have to add that to the list. Then I sanded it down and went through and painted all of the sides green. I also made sure to paint the edges because those are going to be seen with how it's sitting up. Then to add some texture, I mixed my green along with a little bit of black paint to create a darker, really hunter green. And I went through and dry brushed that darker color to give some texture to that green. I did the same thing with some white Waverly chalk paint to make it look snow dusted. And then once it was dry, I assembled it. So on my 2 half pieces, I just put some hot glue right down the center and glued it on either side of the tree. Then I also used a little bit of that dark paint to cover up the hot glue, and that's it. I think this would make an adorable little tree display if you wanted to make multiples. Another one of the projects that I created for Finn's nursery is this cute little gnome pillow, and I did that using the plaid scarf from the box. So I started with some felt I had on hand, this tan felt, and I cut it down to a small little square that would be more Finn sized. Then I just took some scrap felt that I had from other projects and cut out my gnome. So I cut a black circle and I just eyeballed this. If you're more of a template person, you can cut one out from online, but I just was looking at pictures on Pinterest and created what I wanted it to look like. So once my black circle was cut for the little body, then I took out the scarf and cut really, again, freehand for a hat. I started in one direction, realized it was not gelling with what I wanted it to look like, so I just ended up cutting and cutting and cutting until I was able to get to a point that I liked the hat. Once I decided the hat was good to go, I glued down the body and then I grabbed some white felt to make the beard for my gnome. My final piece was to cut some little peach colored felt for the nose, and I just ended up folding it in and gluing it so it made it look a little 3D, so his little nose stuck out. Glued that down and then glued the hat down so everything was hooked to the felt. And I'm doing this before I stuffed the pillow just because it was easier to work with on a flat surface. Then I lined it up with my second piece of felt, went around the outside of 3 of the sides and glued it down, and then I stuffed the bottom. Once it was stuffed, then I added some more hot glue to seal it. And to stuff this, I'm just using an old pillow. That's the cheapest way I found to do it, but you can use polyfill. You can use really anything you have that's got stuffing that you're not using anymore. And then I thought it looked a little plain, so I went through with a blanket stitch like I recently did on my Hocus Pocus pillow, and I will link the tutorial on how I learned how to do this down below because again, I'm not the authority on sewing and you don't want to learn that from me, but I think I did pretty well because it turned out really cute. I like the black stitching, and this is something that I feel super great about Finn being able to play with because it's all felt, it's all soft, and it's super cute. I also like that it's not super Christmas, so I can leave this out all winter long. And finally, this super cute snow globe that I created with the other challenge item, which is this little kind of desk organizer. So I took it outside and used some Rust-Oleum paint. I just had this on hand. It's the color aluminum, and painted it silver. Now, Dollar Tree does sell silver ones of these, so you could just buy them like that, but I happened to get a black one in the box, so I just wanted it to be that color. Then I used these little trees from my stash from Walmart. They're 86 cents, and I needed 2 smaller ones, so that's why I didn't do the Dollar Tree ones. It was cheaper to just get the ones that I wanted. They were a little tall with the bases, so I just popped it out and hot glued them down without that, just so then that way that top would fit on. Now, as you're seeing me play with this, I found out that these round glass pieces from Dollar Tree fit perfectly on top of this little cup. So once I learned that, I obviously was like, this has to be a snow globe. Like, there's no question, this is happening. But with a snow globe, I went back and forth on what I put in there, and I just decided to do the 2 trees because then it could technically be a winter snow globe versus just Christmas, and I'm all for multi-purpose decor. Now it's time to add the snow to our snow globe, which I like to use Epsom salt from the Dollar Tree. You get a lot for $1, and I think the crystal looks a lot better than the little foam fake snow. That's just personal opinion. So I went through, added some Mod Podge to the base, and added some Epsom salt just to ensure that that bottom part was covered, so you really don't see the silver, you're seeing that kind of snow. Once that was all on there, I added some hot glue to the band of the cup, flipped it over, and put it into the glass piece that was filled with the Epsom salt. Now the last piece I would suggest, because there were a couple holes where some of the salt was sticking out, is I sealed the bottom with my hot glue, and then I just used my little finger protector to make sure it was in there. But then that way you could shake it and your salt's not coming out. And then finally, I thought it looked a little plain, so I added some candy cane baker's twine that I've had from the Target dollar spot, I think, for years. And I tied it on, and then I added some of these little Dollar Tree bells to finish off the look. And here's what the bells look like, and where the seal looks like with the baker's twine, you can't even tell. And I really like how it looks like a little set with the sign and the tree. So as a quick reminder, here is everything that came out of the box from Caitlin, and here is what I turned it into. I love doing these videos. I say it every time, but it's such a great mental workout, and I love it. And I love seeing how other people take similar items and make completely different things. It's so awesome. Be sure to check out the playlist so you can see what everybody else created.
Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to let me know down in the comments below what your favorite project is. Also, would you have taken any of the items that I did, especially the challenge items, and did what I did, or do you have other ideas? I love to hear from you. And also, if you're new and you're from another channel, be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss a future Whiskey and Whit video, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye!